Hi, everybody. Jeff Gayduk here from Leisure Group Travel. Happy to have with me today Julian Ing. How are you doing today, Julian?
I'm doing good. I'm doing the best that we can during these times for sure.
It's been a tough road, and I think a lot of people are climbing out of this, which obviously the recovery is different based on where you are. If I'm not mistaken, your company Launchtrip is based up in Canada.
We're based out of Vancouver, Canada. That's correct, in British Columbia. Yeah, on the
Nice.
West Coast.
Okay. Well, I'm really super excited to talk with you today. I learned about your company through a press release, did a little bit of research about a new app that you've got in development, and will solve hopefully a big pain point of the group travel industry. But I guess just as a little formal background, tell me about yourself. I understand that you're a former publisher.
Well, that was a long time ago, Jeff.
Okay.
When I first started my company, the first company was a publishing company. Right out of university, I was still in university when I launched the company. And I grew up in the travel industry because my dad was in the travel industry. But my first startup was a publishing company, and that's how I started.
Nice. So we have the secret handshake. Do you still remember the secret handshake of publishers?
I don't know the secret handshake. Is there a secret handshake? Maybe I sold my company a little too quickly there. I'm not sure, but what's the secret handshake?
I can't tell you. If you're not a publisher anymore, Julian, I can't tell you.
I only had it for about 2.5 years, so maybe I got out a little bit too early. But you'll have to show me after the show, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that off camera. So, from the initial publishing company, what sort of businesses were you involved in that led you up to Launchtrip?
It's very interesting. All the other companies that I started at and have either got acquired or merged, they range anywhere from digital advertising companies to like one of the largest social mobile gaming companies. None of which was in travel until my last company prior to Launchtrip, where I got back from a really bad vacation in Thailand, and I used one of the OTAs, and it didn't do the job for me, and I ended up coming back to Vancouver, getting a couple of engineers together, and we started a recommendation engine. And that recommendation engine was something that we were really passionate about building. But in the midst of building that recommendation engine, I fell into the hotel industry. And I learned a lot about the hotel industry during that time. I learned about the good things, and I learned about the bad things, and the pain points. And because of those pain points, that's why Launchtrip was born in late 2018.
So the pain points that you encountered during your trip, I think, have been experienced by a lot of people who have just dealt with the complexities of travel and trying to piece different tools together. What problem are you trying to solve with Launchtrip that doesn't exist in an existing app or website today?
Yeah, I think there's several problems we're trying to solve. Obviously there's a lot of pain points in travel, but I think the primary pain point that Launchtrip is trying to solve is really the arrangement of group travel. Let's say, for example, a group of friends going on a trip somewhere, right? Usually a host arranges the trip. And I think that responsibility alone falls on somebody that is willing to take that responsibility. And I think that's where the pinpoints start. Anywhere from, collecting the money from all your friends. I mean, that's one big pinpoint, right? Chasing down invites, people that want to go or if they don't want to go, trying to arrange how many hotel rooms or accommodations that you need, doing all that research to find restaurants and food. And let's be honest, food is a very big part of why we travel.
Absolutely.
It's ingrained in the human culture and to the traveling culture. And that's why Launchtrip is literally the first travel booking app to incorporate restaurants and restaurant recommendations and bookings into one app. So multiple pain points, but I would say the biggest one is the arrangement of the trip. So Launchtrip actually handles payment processing. We're just not a fancy calculator. We handle individual payments within our platform, which is
okay. Nice. And then I know another issue with groups is sort of the consensus of movement is, do we like this hotel or what about XYZ attraction? Have you built or are you considering down the future some sort of, I hate to use the word polling, but just to get sort of opinion feedback chat feature from the group where they can communicate various aspects of their likes and dislikes?
Let's break that into two parts, I think, Jeff. It's a really good question. And, as I mentioned before, building a recommendation engine really opens your eyes to different sources of collecting data, right? So we've broken that into two parts. The first initial phase is really about qualitative research, where we really kind of go out there and we ask questions. We're building a really dynamic survey system within our application. So every time a user comes on, depending on their fatigue threshold, which also is driven by artificial intelligence, we get to find out a little bit more about the user. Our goal is to build a multi-point system on that user so we can curate and recommend better accommodations, better food offerings, and so forth and so on. That's one thing. And then later down the road, we do definitely want to build more itinerary-based focused features for the user as well. But ultimately, our goal is to become the best friend that every user has in every single city. For me, I don't know if I can depend on like a Yelp service anymore, where there's recommendations based on based by anyone and everyone. And I think that's where the inherent problem sits, right?
Sure. Well, anyone and everyone, including some possible paid postings that are put in there. I mean, that's, I think, one of the challenges that those industries have faced. And I think the other thing, Julian, coming out of COVID is if it's a Yelp or a TripAdvisor review from 2018, can you still trust it? Is that hotel still open? Is the staff still there? What about the restaurant? I mean, there's so many things in question for, like it's going to be like BC and AD, really, what is the travel landscape and how does it look? So, certainly your app could play a part in that. So one of the challenges with booking any sort of group online historically has been capacity limits by OTAs or even hotels themselves, where, if you go to hotels.com, you can see every hotel in the world, it seems like, until you need more than 3 or 4 rooms. Are you guys able to solve that problem right now? Or how are you kind of bridging that gap between, okay, I got 6 rooms I need in Myrtle Beach. How do I get that through an online service?
Another very good question. And it's one of the things that we are trying to tackle right now. And being creative in this, as let's take the hotel industry for a second. The hotel industry, it's a very convoluted, complex industry, right? As you know. And depending on the time of the year, if it's high season or if it's low season, inventory can be very, very low. And when you have a large group during high season, it would be very difficult to much less get 1 room, but to get 4 or 5 rooms. So we're building these creative solutions now. One of the solutions we're looking to building, and it's already in the works, is to be able to use geofencing to find out, firstly, we're also the first app to actually be event focused as well. So you can do a search, not just on a city, but on a single event. And then we circulate all the supply around that event area. Nice. So if you're going to an event, you don't have to do that research anymore. We'll tell you where to go and where to eat and where to stay. So with that in mind, that geofencing, what we're planning to do is, if your group is more than, let's say, 15 people, and you're looking for, let's say, 6 or 7 rooms, and one hotel only has 3 rooms, what we're going to do is locate the closest hotel to that first hotel and find out how many rooms are available in that hotel. Okay. Right. And then we're going to set a perimeter where it shouldn't be more than a block or 2 blocks away from the first hotel. That's where, the artificial intelligence comes in. And that's how we're going to combine multiple rooms from multiple hotels into one booking. That's one of the solutions that we're looking at.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that certainly makes sense. And by events, you're talking about like large concerts, theatrical performance, sporting events, things that groups tend to congregate around. Okay. And do you have plans to incorporate booking ability with tickets for this? Because I think that's another huge stumbling block. Or how do you transcend that?
Another good question. I think it's fair to say at this point that tickets is not part of a roadmap. And there's multiple reasons why. There's already a couple of really big players in that space, I would say 3. And ticketing is something that's also very, very complex. And as you know, it's an industry on its own. Yeah. Having launched multiple startups in the past and sold multiple companies, I can tell you that focusing on one or two things at the beginning is really, really important. And the goal at Launchtrip is just to be very good at one or two things first, right?
Okay.
Making
Yep.
that group experience really good. And then one day, when that demand is there, we can consider and think about putting tickets in.
Good. Okay. Well, I think that's certainly admirable, and you're right. I mean, that's been a thorn in the side of anybody who's trying to access group inventory, and I think you'd have a halo over your head if you had figured that out by now. But as you launch the platform, that certainly could be something to address, maybe through an alliance or a partnership. So walk me through the process. I've got a group of friends who wants to go on a golf vacation. How does your app help me as the person who everybody comes to say, okay, Jeff, you figure out what we can do?
Yeah, I mean, so it starts with if you are focused on a golf tour or some sort of get together and I think it depends. Are you going to a tournament, or are you just getting a group of buddies together to go to play golf in a different city or a different location?
Probably that. Let's say we want to go to, I mentioned Myrtle Beach earlier, so that is a
okay. So if that's the case, it's not really based on a global event. What you do is you'd open Launchtrip, and right away you would just pick the location. So if it's Myrtle Beach, you pick the area around that. I'm not as familiar with Myrtle Beach, but let's say you know where that location is, what city, what geolocation. You pick that location, and then right from there, you are going to select the number of people going. Okay. At that moment, we're going to identify, okay, is this a group trip, or is this a single person, or is this a couple, right? We identify that as a group trip. Right after that, we can provide the number of hotels that are available around that area for you. Okay. Once you select the number of hotels you want, right after that process, you can go right into you'll have access to your contact list, and you'll be able to go into your phone's contact list and select the friends that are going with you. Once you select the friends that are going with you, you'll be able to send push notifications to every single one of your friends that Jeff is having a golf trip. Are you coming to the golf trip, or are you not coming to the golf trip? If they say no, they'll have these quirky, cool little feedback lines to provide you. I'm washing my hair, got to wash my car, I can't make it. And let's be honest, it could be very interesting when you invite somebody on a trip, and awkward when they don't want to go, right? So we were trying to solve that problem too by making it funny, by adding humor. So let's say they do want to go and they say yes. They click the link, it takes them to Launchtrip right away. It pulls them into the app. They can sign up and pay using their own credit card for their own portion. And it will break it down to the portions that they owe, and it also provides them the total amount owing. Once they pay, and they have about 35 hours to pay it, Jeff, you as the host will get an alert saying Tom has paid, right? So while that's happening, and you've sent out the notifications, we then move you on to restaurant recommendations if you so want some. And we partner with American Express for our booking system. We're one of the very first partners for American Express. So we'll recommend really great restaurants in the city that you're going to. And we also focus on groups, because sometimes group bookings at restaurants are bigger than just 5 people. It could be 10, it could be 15. If you find a great restaurant, you can book it. American Express makes the booking, and then you move on to any of the other things that we're going to offer you in the near future, such as car service, ground transportation, insurance, so forth and so on. Then once you're done, it goes into your saved trips, and you're off to the races.
Good. Well, so through the American Express partnership, there is some ability to add group reservations. So if I had 15 on this, again, that's another like open table I can go to, but might be 6 maximum. So there's some capacity enhancements in that app.
Yeah, in the initial phase, a lot of it's going to be human labor at the beginning. We're going to have customer support people that can do that.
Good.
Because I think it's right now, Resi, Open Table, companies like that, as you know, they don't support large groupings. We're going to take that into the company at the beginning until we find a better solution working with our partners.
Okay, good to know. And then I guess same thing on tours and activities too. If I wanted to do a Segway tour or the parasailing, that's something that you guys could build in as far as miscellaneous activities beyond the purpose of the trip if it were an event, if we wanted to do some sightseeing. But again, you're dealing with a whole different technological platform, individual companies and so forth. So that's like a minefield walking through.
Yeah, again, I think doing activities is also almost like a completely different industry in their own right now, too, as you know. We're not even really focused on that right now. Focusing on what we do best, and then later on, building in activities is something that we're definitely, it is on our radar, but it'll probably be a little bit further down the road.
Sure, sure. Well, and I think it's the way I look at this too, is that the technology keeps getting better and better. And just like with what you're launching is light years ahead of what came before that, some of these other sectors will recognize the value of groups and perhaps expand their technological platform that allow you to be able to access better inventory.
Yeah,
So I know you guys did launch before COVID and you had some success with the app. Can you tell me about some of the users that used Launchtrip and some of the feedback you were getting before, we've had basically a worldwide shutdown in group travel?
Yeah, it was a little bit different for our pilot. It wasn't really a mobile app at that time. It was, when we launched the company in late 2018, we wanted to get an MVP out as quickly as possible. So we did it via web platform, desktop platform.
Okay.
And we actually ended up piloting 4 projects and working with, and it was corporate, it wasn't leisure at the time. We partnered with 4 major global size corporate events, one of them being Fast Company. And we took care of their 8 to 10,000 attendee event. And we provided a platform that offered hotel accommodation. And, we rolled that out within just 3 months because it came up very quickly. We were really surprised when Fast Company came on and said, "We're interested, let's do this. You guys have 3 months." So we got together really quickly, built the technology, and we rolled it out, and it was really successful for an MVP.
Good.
And it was really great because for the first time in the company's history, in the event history for Fast Company, we were able to provide a selection of hotels for their attendees. And it dawned on us that this was really powerful, and I kind of caught a glimpse of that already when I researched the industry. Was that even when you go to an event as an attendee, you want selection, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on your budget, what you like, right? The things that matter to you. Unfortunately, in the past, in the event industry, events usually allocate one hotel partner, right? So in order for the attendee to get a good price, if that's even a good price, they have to use the hotel the event selected.
Sure.
Well, or the recommended hotel, which kind of didn't make much sense. But now we kind of opened that up. And that's kind of how we got the idea to start Launchtrip and to expand it in terms of events. Because the future, it's really about offering, a variety of hotels around an event instead of just offering one. It just didn't make much sense to us at the time.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And gosh, I mean, people are going to be clamoring to go back to live events when we can all breathe again. So that's going to really be popular.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a desktop version. The Launchtrip, what we've talked about is sort of app-based. Will there also be a desktop version of Launchtrip, or will it be exclusively app-based?
It's going to come out as app-based cool. As the first version of it. But ultimately, we are going to have a desktop version of it too. When we research the industry and we look at data, a lot of groups tend to want to use the desktop to arrange a trip. So we do want to offer both options at some point.
Sure. And I could see having the flexibility as being nice for certain tasks and functions. So you successful launch with Launchtrip, and I guess that tested the mettle of the software, so that works. So then sort of going forward in launching your plan, who do you see using this? And where do you find them? I know, based on what we do, you don't just pick groups off of trees. So how do you think you're going to be successful in locating these people that have these pain points?
Well, I think that's it's almost like a cold start problem, and then we treat it like a cold start problem, and that's a term used in machine learning and artificial intelligence, but it's kind of the same thing where we're a very data-driven company, and as good as we are as human researchers and looking for information, provide us answers. The best way to get that is to start people using the app, right? Get people into the app. And my background is user acquisition. So getting that, getting users to download, getting them on board isn't going to be a problem for us. What we want to do is we want to start looking at the data. Where are they coming from? How many people are on the app that are looking to book in groups, right? That preliminary data is going to feed us and provide us more answers. As we get more answers, we're going to determine the better angles of how to get that to happen. What we do know right now is that anyone between the ages of 24 to 42, 43, they have a high propensity for group travel, right? It's really kind of, as you know, it's kind of ingrained into their demographic, right?
We grew up doing it, yeah.
Yeah, and they're very experiential based demographic, right? And listen, in the last year and a bit during the pandemic, that pent up demand to connect, to socialize, to get together again, and you couple that together with travel is a really powerful thing. And that's why, that's why Launchtrip is called a together travel company, because we really believe in that connection when you travel. It's not just about groups traveling, it's really about connecting. And that's what we focus on.
Oh. I see on the website that it still shows in beta version. When do you anticipate to have this ready to roll out, or is the app available now? What's sort of the time frame for this becoming something we can sink our teeth into?
Good question. We are looking to launch end of May for our exclusive closed beta program. It's going to be very limited. So I would say if you had to sign up for beta, I would do it now, because we're going to cut it off. The reason we're going to cut it off is, again, we're very data driven. And on top of that, we're a very consumer centric company. At Launchtrip, our ethos is to build the best experience that we can from beginning to end in everything we do. If you ask us to build a cardboard box, we'd build the best cardboard box that we can. That's really how we work here. And the reason I say that is because we want to work with our consumers and our users. We want to get their feedback. We want to get your feedback. We want to understand what matters to you and what really counts. And over the next 45 to, I would say, 60 days after closed beta, we're going to take in all that data. We're going to understand what really matters, and we're going to improve and update that up for the public launch. So we're hoping within 2 months, if we do it fast enough, we'll blow it out to the public, and it would be hopefully a really great experience.
Cool. What would you say are benchmarks for your success in the first 6 months to a year? If you had to fast forward and say, I put my head down on the pillow at night and it was a good day, what does that look like from Launchtrip's perspective?
Internally for us, and we've told our staff this, that 2021 is really going to be about discovery. We're not going to be one of those startups that, tells our investors that there's going to be this huge hockey stick in 2021. As you know, the pandemic is still here. Although the US is looking good and the UK is looking good, the rest of the world, even including Canada, we're still a bit of a mess. And we really don't know what timing is over the next 6 to 7 months. So with that said, we're going to treat this year as discovery mode. So what's going to look good to us is really getting the app rolled out with minimal bugs, getting feedback and seeing usage from our users, and really locking it down and improving that experience for the rest of the year. Our goal is 2022, January, first quarter. That's when we're going to come out and we're going to say, hey, this is something really amazing that you want to jump on.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, I think that's the smart way to do it, especially you've had, time to incubate this idea through COVID. And now that you've got the beta group launched, a chance to really see how it works in action with a controlled user group, and not getting people, large amounts of consumers downloading something that may not have all the tools that you're going to launch it with. So I like the plan, very much so. Well, I'll look forward to keeping updated on your progress. Anybody who's interested in your beta launch, they would go to the website, or how would they learn more about kind of what you're doing, product updates and such?
Yeah, www.launchtrip.com. sign up for beta. We also have a really amazing contest coming out too, made for groups that I think you guys will really love. It's a little bit of revenge travel. That's what we're calling the contest. So you're going to love that too. Sign up for beta, and we will provide bi-weekly updates to you on what our progress is. And we look forward to seeing you guys when we launch our closed beta.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we'll definitely get the word out on that and try to get some interest brewing from our end here. I can tell you, as we've talked about off camera and a little bit here, is it's a massive pain point for the travel industry, and especially for the people that are trying to organize groups together. The nightmare stories that come not from the trip experience, but from the pre-planning and the organization, and Tom never did pay me for that trip sort of questions that come through. If you can solve that, you'll have really done the industry a favor, and you should have a bright future ahead of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we're going to do our best to do what's best for consumers. So
awesome. Okay. Well, Julian, I really appreciate your time today and look forward to keeping in touch.
Thanks, Jeff.